How's everybody doing? Today I'm going to be doing a video where I talk about my top favorite books. Just doing something to take a break from talking about movies. One of my favorite passions in life besides film are books. I've always enjoyed reading ever since I was really young. And, I enjoy reading about pretty much anything. I mostly like to read about real life stuff and things going on that can really happen in people's lives and people going through things. But then, of course, I like to take a break from that and then read about, fantasy and stuff like that. So I picked out 10 really good books that I absolutely love. And I actually got sort of an inspiration to do this video from Peter Davis, who on YouTube is known as Mondo Squilito. I'll leave a link down below to his channel below. But he did a video yesterday talking about his top 5 favorite books. And I originally wanted to do that, but there were just, so many books that I wanted to talk about, and just so many different ones that I wanted to mention. So I thought I'd just pick out 10 of them. And most of these are stories, but I also have a lot of biographies in this. I'm going to be showing off as well. I absolutely love reading about biographies. Mostly music biographies are the ones that I enjoy the most. But yeah, these books are pretty much ones that they've always stuck out to me. I've always enjoyed reading them, and they're ones that some of these I've been reading for years. And yeah, so I'm going to go and get started. And the first book I'm going to talk about is one that I've talked about before. I read this in 7th grade in my English class, and I absolutely loved it. And it's probably my favorite book. This is a young adult novel called The Outsiders, which was written by S.E. Hinton. And yeah, I read this in my 7th grade English class, and then we watched the movie, and I absolutely loved the film and the movie. It's just a great story about young teenagers going through things in their lives and going through pain and just I really related to the story because back during middle school it wasn't the best years for me, and I always felt very alone and very depressed a lot. And I really related a lot to the main character, especially main characters in the story, especially Pony Boy. And yeah, this has just always been one of my favorite books, and I've talked about it a lot. But yeah, The Outsiders is definitely one of my favorite books, and yeah, I really enjoy this one. The next one is a horror novel, and it's called Shadowland, which was written by Peter Straub. And I thought this was a pretty unique story. It's about I think it's two friends, and they go to this house in Vermont, up in the woods, and there's a magician who lives there, and it's a pretty dark, creepy story. Even in the first, I think it was a quote from Stephen King on the back. I thought it was creepy from page 1. I loved it, and Peter Straub and Stephen King have actually collaborated on a lot of different stories and books, and this is a really creepy one. I have not read Peter Straub's other book, Ghost Story, but I would like to sometime. But yeah, this is a pretty creepy one. Now this next book is just a collection of some of the best writings from probably one of the best horror writers of all time, Edgar Allan Poe. This is 10 Great Mysteries of Edgar Allan Poe, and this has got all the classic ones like the Telltale Heart, the Pit and the Pendulum, the Black Cat, and just basically all the his classic stories. And it's a pretty good collection of his stories, and I've always been a fan of Edgar Allan Poe and always enjoy rereading these. So yeah, it's a pretty small little book, but it's got his best ones right there. Now this next book is another really great horror novel that I really enjoy, The Amityville Horror. This is a really great story. I really enjoy. Of course, I saw the movie before I saw this, but I really did enjoy the book. I was really creeped out by and yeah, of course they try to amp it up and say it's a true story, and all this stuff really did happen, and of course that's all BS. But it's still a really great ghost story. Now this next one is another book that I think I read in middle school, I think it was in middle school, but it's a book called The Weirdo, and it's basically about this girl. She's a sort of a city girl, and she moves out to the swamp. I forget exactly why she's there, but she moves out to the swamp where she meets this guy named Chip, and he's very disfigured, and people think he's so creepy because of his disfigurement. And he basically lives out there in the swamp, and he's an outcast, and I've always felt like an outcast, so I really related to Chip's character in the story, and it's kind of I guess you could say it's kind of a Beauty and the Beast type story, but it's pretty good. I definitely recommend this. Most of these books that I like to read are from my teenage years, so some of them are like made for, like, this book is pretty much made for teenagers to read and stuff, but yeah, I still really enjoyed this one. And this is from Theodore Taylor, who also wrote The K, which is another really amazing book. Alright. And the rest of these are biographies. And the first one that I'm going to be talking about is Columbine. And this was written by Dave Cullen. And I've always had sort of I don't know if fascination is a good word for it, but I've always had an interest in school shootings. And I've always wondered, how they happen, what causes a young teenager to want to shoot up his school, and this book is a really good one. This book has been criticized a lot, though, too, but I really did enjoy it. It goes through a lot of detail about both the two boys that committed the Columbine massacre, Eric Harris and Dylan Klebold. It talks a lot about them, and you really get a feel of who they really are, and it really helps you understand, why they decided to do this, and it's a terrible thing, and it's something that is actually happening a lot more in the world now than it was in the past. And this book really brings it really tries to help you understand, why this happens, and, it's both of course, there is no excuse for what the boys did, but it really gives you an idea of how corrupt the school systems, how corrupt they can be about it, and it brings it to light. I would love to read more about it because this book has been criticized a lot, so I'd love to read another book on the subject. But yeah, this is just the one I've read, and now I've got 4 biographies that I'm going to be talking about, and the first book I'm talking about, and another biography is 4 music biographies, and the next one I'm going to talk about is about probably one of the most influential musicians. I've related so much to his work and what he's gone through. It's Heavier Than Heaven, a biography of Kurt Cobain, and if you're friends with me or if you know me, you know that I really relate a lot to Kurt Cobain and what he's gone through in his life, or what he did go through. Just feeling alienated and feeling alone in the world and feeling like everybody was against you. And this is an absolutely amazing book. It's probably, I think as of right now, this is the best biography on Kurt's life. There is a new documentary and another book coming out called A Montage of Heck, which I'm really excited to see that, because it's actually the first documentary that his family is involved in, his actual family, and his daughter is also is a producer of it as well, so I'm really looking forward to that. But yeah, this is a very, very emotional and very revealing book, and it's just absolutely great. This is probably one of, if not my favorite music biography. I'm also actually reading Come As You Are, the story of Nirvana, because I'm just absolutely fascinated with Kurt's life, and just the history of Nirvana, just the whole band, and I'm a huge fan of the music. Another person that I'm really fascinated with, No One Here Gets Out Alive. This is the biography of Jim Morrison, and I've always thought, if I was to ever be a musician, or if I was ever to be on stage, Kurt Cobain would probably be the person I would be, and Jim Morrison would probably be the person I would like to be, because Jim, he was very eccentric on stage. He had so much energy. He pretty much owned the stage. He was one person that really owned the stage. You couldn't keep your eyes off of him. And this is a really great biography about his life. And yeah, I did really enjoy this one, and Again, another person I've always related to, Jim Morrison. Now the next one is a biography of one of the greatest rock and roll bands of all time, and this is a biography of Led Zeppelin, When Giants Walk the Earth, by Mick Wall. And this is an absolutely great biography. You know, Led Zeppelin is of course a classic rock and roll band, and it was really great to, you know, finally be able to read a book about, you know, their career. One thing that's kind of funny about this book, I might be able to find a page of it. Yeah, it's right here. One thing that the author Mick Wall did is there are sections in the book that are supposed to be written as if they are the inner thoughts of a certain person. And like Jimmy Page, there's a section of Jimmy Page sort of like, it's like his inner voice inside of his head talking about what's going on in his life. And they're all based on interviews, but the way that he writes it, you know, sort of makes it as if it's that person talking to themselves inside of their heads, if you can understand that. And they're written like this, in italics. There's also some really great pictures in it as well, like, you know, stuff like that. Just Led Zeppelin is legendary. But yeah, really, really great biography. I've not read any of the other biographies on the band, so I'll definitely check those out. And the last one I want to talk about is actually a autobiography about the lead guitarist of my favorite rock and roll band. And this book is Slash. Ever since I was really young, I've always been a huge fan of Guns N' Roses. They've always been my favorite band. I grew up watching them, you know, the concert video, you know, and this book, you know, this book was published and doesn't go into anything new. I think this book came out in the early 2000s, I think. But yeah, Slash has always been one of my favorite guitar players, and this, you know, it's basically him talking about his life and what he went through during Guns N' Roses or Velvet Revolver or his solo stuff, and it's a really, really great bio. And of course, you know, it's got some great rock and roll access, like, you know, the 80s, you know, what went down with that. And you know, this is just a really great book, and he goes into a lot of detail about everything he did, you know, from, you know, his guitar playing to sex to drugs, you know, and it's just all the fun stuff you'd expect in a rock and roll book. So yeah, really great one. And that is, you know, pretty much just 10 books that I really enjoy. You know, of course, there are a lot of other books that I enjoy as well. Of course, I'm a fan of Stephen King. There's also a few biographies that I've talked about before. There's one biography on Wes Craven that I really enjoy as well. I love reading about how, you know, classic horror films were made, or classic films in general, as well as some sports athletes. Like, I have a book on a professional skateboarder, Andy McDonald. I enjoyed that one as well. And, you know, I'm always open to reading new things, you know. So, and, you know, I never try to limit myself on what I read. You know, I try to branch out and read different genres. Just like film, I enjoy reading about, you know, pretty much anything that really sparks my interest. You know, mostly it's either music biographies, or mostly it's stories about, you know, teenagers and about young people coming to be and going through stuff, and I really enjoy that. But anyway, guys, if you guys have read any of these books, definitely let me know what you guys think about them, and let me know what are some of your favorite books, because, you know, I'm always interested in reading something new, and I'd love to know, you know, what are some books you guys enjoy. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Thanks everyone for subscribing, and I will see you guys later.